Okay, hey guys, welcome to A Guy in His Room with Narwhal again.
Hey, what's up?
Uh, yeah, not much. Thanks for doing this again.
No problem. Yeah, we delayed it a couple times, pushed it back, but it's good to get back on your show.
Yeah, I know you. Last week, you lied and said you had COVID so you could get out of doing it. But
It was a mild case, but it was nevertheless very real. All COVID is kind of fake. I don't know.
yeah, what I think one of your shows, maybe I don't know, some Comicsgate show, they talked about this old show, Utopia, that was like first on the in the UK, and I've been watching that. It's all on YouTube, and it's kind of creeping me out because it's about a fake flu.
Oh yeah, I think I heard about that. I didn't look too much into it, but yeah, but they call that predictive programming, right?
Yeah, yeah, and like I was looking at their, I guess there's a Reddit, and they were like, "Yeah, all these loony conspiracy people keep coming in and saying it's predictive programming."
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know. Yeah, that's too.
Well, you
Might have
don't
freaked
even
me
need.
out too much. Yeah.
Yeah, and even that show's creepy, but they ran like a simulation with like Bill Gates and those guys the year before too. Like that's you don't even need the predictive programming conspiracy theory. There's like so much other shit that's creepy.
Oh yeah, it was like yeah, I forget what it was called, but I know it's a pandemic scenario. Um,
Hmm.
Yeah, and in this show, they're like, "Oh, we have to get it right this time." Like they've tried it a bunch. Yeah, I don't know, but check out this show, everybody. And yeah, thanks for coming on. That's all I had to say. No.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, I guess I. Oh yeah, because I tweeted and said I read that Earthbound new one, and I
Grand
just
Prix.
yeah, and I did just finish Cerberus yesterday too.
Nice. That's cool. You're becoming a narwhal completionist.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad you had now you have an eBay store.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
Cause yeah, I'm normally a completionist. I just got the Grand Prix just because, like, well, it was shorter too. I was like, well, this would be maybe an introduction I can do to Narwhal.
Yeah, you were dipping your toes, and that's interesting too because it's not the first book, but so I was curious of someone reading it without having read the first book because it is kind of designed to be its own story, but you do miss some context, but that might not be terribly important. And and yeah, you said you still enjoyed it, which was pretty good. That was good to hear.
Yeah. Okay, I got confused by a comment. I am live. I hope not. I thought he meant that it's still on the countdown, but
No,
okay.
that's for yeah, just likes, I guess.
Uh, yeah, I guess there might have been some stuff in that I didn't know before. I guess. I mean, I guess to me, I was like, it was mainly just the characters. I was like, oh, this must be something from the first two books, but I didn't think there was any big thing that I was like, oh, I don't know.
No, I think the big thing is yeah, it's just you would know who all the characters are already if in Grand Prix kind of, and it's fine to meet them for the first time just reading Grand Prix too.
Yeah. So you have. Are you doing like one more Cerberus?
Yeah, so in the end it'll be two parts, each one like about 100 pages. Monica's drawing part 2 now, so it'll come out next year, like probably later next year.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that one complete for sure. it's going some cool places. I'm looking forward to showing people what comes next.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like well, to me, that's almost more um, an a good introduction to you, maybe because it's more Grand Prix was more I don't know, sci-fi, but the Cerberus was is more like accessible.
Yeah, it could be. And Grand Prix too, it's kind of just the setup. And Cerberus is like a whole first half of a story, so a lot more stuff happens. So it's a little more fulfilling in that way. Like I'm looking forward to getting Grand Prix Part 2 out. Because then I think people will start to really get into that story. It's kind of a problem you face a little bit with part ones, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at least well, the first Cerberus seems to end on okay. There's an ending. Like you sort of find out some stuff at the end, you know.
Yeah, it's like kind of like how Tarantino split Kill Bill up. A lot of
Oh
times the
yeah,
story with story structure, you just naturally have even if it's like a kind of 3 act structure, like super regular, like almost everyone does that. Right in the middle is usually like a little table turning style moment or a little evolution, and I don't know why it's like that, but just I was even testing that for a while because I was like, is that even true? So I'd be watching a movie, and you know they show the bar and the completion of how far you've watched in the movie if you hit pause. So I was doing that for a while. I'm like, this feels like that middle turning point. So I hit pause just to double check. 99% of the time, it's right in the middle, and I'm like, that is
oh
definitely a
yeah,
structural thing. And you can hear people like talk about that even like they call it like the middle turning point or whatever, but I'm like, oh, it's real. And like that ends up being a good spot to break up a book always. And that Earthbound split up that way too, like right in that middle turning point kind of.
So do you have the overall story like done mentally for both of those, Earthbound and Cerberus, or
Yeah, they're all written for Grand Prix is completely written, and then for Earthbound, there's also the in between stories that take place because from the end of the first story, and then there's Grand Prix. Grand Prix is 4 years later, so 4 years pass, and then I have another like 300-page book that is like a little more episodic, kind of just checking in with all the characters. But that's covers those 4 years. They're more like short stories. That's almost like a little more like an anthology, but it has its own kind of structure too. So that will be the next book after Grand Prix, and that one's just called The Gaps. So there's Earthbound, The Gaps, then Grand Prix. That's like in chronological order. Eventually, I want to do a prequel, which would be like issue 0, and then I have the so that's all written. The prequel isn't written, but 3 whole stories are written. They're all 300 pages. They're all really long. Like they're like kind of like the length of a movie screenplay. And then I do have like a lot of the final story worked out, which is going to be the sequel to Grand Prix, and that'll be another 300 page, and that probably would wrap it up. Um, and like, but I'm not even sure yet that the end because it is a little bit like they're kind of just everyone kind of just wants their freedom and wants to be left alone. So I don't know if they just get a happy ending at the end or if something weird happens where they like because there is like some reincarnation type stuff and
oh yeah,
um so yeah, so I'm not sure, but I don't right as it is now they're just like episodic adventures, but the episodes are like super long rather than being short of like a 20-page issue. It's like 300 pages is one episode, and I've done like 3 of them uh, is going to be. So by the end, it's going to be a long, super long story, kind of.
oh so all the Grand Prix comics will be together 300 pages for the
Yeah, yeah. There's 6 of them, and one's out right now, and it's 44 pages. Part 2 is going to be like 44, 48 pages.
okay. So yeah, I guess I was wondering like how the for like Cerberus, like how do you just did you wrote it, but did you draw anything? Because I was like, how did you direct what you drew in every panel and stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, part of it is Monica is like super professional. So you kind of can just give her the script and she knows exactly what to do. She's done it a million times. And she also is someone who you're working with. She'll turn in pages that are better than anything you could have imagined in your head. Sometimes I'll work with people and it might not quite be, I might have imagined something better. So then might work with them and do some back and forth. And then sometimes you can even annoy them by giving too much feedback and then they might quit and then you find someone else. But with Monica, it's always like so easy. But there was multiple iterations of me kind of trying to do that book because I wrote it a while ago, so it was sitting there, and I didn't have the budget to produce it for a long time. I had a couple false starts with a couple different artists, including myself. Like I just tried to do it myself for a while, drew the first 5 pages. So I shared a lot of that with her, but mostly she just does does her thing and it looks great. There are some parts in Cerberus where the kind of layout of the house is like really important to the storytelling. So I like drew a map of the house and gave that to her so she knows the map of the house and
Oh,
double check that kind of stuff to make sure the logistics of the action kind of work correctly.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I was gonna try to show pages, but I don't even know
Oh yeah, it's kind of like getting disappeared by the
if. Yeah.
that's all that's hilarious. You got like
Um.
the Nirvana cover from the other angle is behind you.
Oh yeah. My favorite part of that cover was the baby's penis. By the way, that was really the star of the. Yeah, like the. I guess it reminded me of some stuff. With the, I mean, it's cool that it's from the animals' perspective and then the humans. Like, yeah, I guess it reminded me of those old, like, I don't know, The Secret of Nim, but I haven't seen that in forever. But uh, it's cool, like, that the animals, like, they know stuff that you would think animals know. Like, um, they think Chinese takeout is like from a dumpster or whatever.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely fun to write. And you know the origin of that too? It kind of came from a joke idea that I had in college with one of my buddies. And we were talking about a seeing eye dog that worked for a guy. I forget why, but I think the guy, he might have been in the mob or he got killed by the mob or something. So he gets assassinated and so then the seeing eye dog goes on a quest for revenge against the mob to avenge his seeing eye dog master. And like we're like, well, the first thing he has to do is like hitchhike across country to get to the mob boss's house somehow. So and he has like the scent or whatever maybe. So he goes up to a homeless guy on the freeway who's holding a sign for LA and he barks at that guy until he drops the sign and then the dog picks it up and then like someone picks up the dog and the dog goes to LA. Like so it was all just stupid jokes. We're just like laughing and kind of but I think we kind of plotted like the whole thing. And then like 10 years later I was like what if you actually took that serious instead of like making a joke out of it? And so then that I immediately like I was like, oh, there is kind of a lot there, like a dog kind of trying to avenge its master. It's like a murder mystery, and it would be like dog versus dog, kind of, and then so it had that feeling where it was evolving pretty fast in my head, where you're like, oh, feels like it's writing itself. Kind of you get kind of excited, a burst of inspiration. So I wrote it pretty fast, but yeah, I got to like jump in and have fun with that Animal Kingdom style stuff of the perspective of the animals.
Yeah, I guess you don't see that much. Like I was recently playing old Zelda, like Twilight Princess or something, and in there you become a dog sometimes, and then the animals talk to you, like, and I was like, wow, this is cool. And then I was like, oh, Cerberus reminds me of that, like that they would learn stuff by overhearing humans, and yeah, and I mean, and it's not a furry comic, by the way. I think some people were like, I'm not into furries, so I don't. It's like, I mean, we used to be maybe more innocent and not as depraved as a culture. Like that. That's where people go to right away.
I know. Yeah, the furries ruined it for everyone because the anthropomorphic stuff or like Animal Kingdom stuff is like really fun, and that's like Secret of Nim, uh, All Dogs Go to Heaven, 101 Dalmatians. There's a long tradition of great fun stories like that, um, and but it got all perverted or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, but well, you can never predict. Well, you know, I mean, I'm sure the My Little Pony creator didn't foresee what would happen there with autistic
Yeah.
old men. Um, like, yeah. And then it's like, what do you do? Like, what if there were? What if no one said that and like Cerberus takes off, and then you eventually you're like, oh, there's a portion of my fans that just are sexually into animals.
Yeah.
Would you be like,
Yeah.
all right, well, they bought it?
You know what I've been saying though is that it's like when Bob Dylan plugged in and went electric, and all the folk people got really mad or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Screw you! Like, play louder." That's like me going furry. I'm just like gonna keep going.
Yeah, I mean, because it is just, and it's just animals, like not even anthropomorphic. They're just animals, like it's like Homeward Bound kind of. Uh,
Yeah. And
which was,
there's no cats in this one. That was something I kind of felt bad about. I'm like, I'm representing a lot of different animals except for cats. So I'm like, I want to do a cat story one day too.
yeah, I mean, well, they're not loyal though. That's the thing. They're
Yeah. What do you tell the story about? Yeah.
just like, well, there is this video game I randomly came across called Stray that is you're a cat in it, and it looks cool, but also it would have to be a cat only out for himself. Like,
Yeah, like a stray, like straight up. Yeah, I had a little idea around that kind of, and it would be a cat surviving Hurricane Katrina. But I'm like, to even do that, I'm like, I gotta like research Hurricane Katrina a whole bunch, so I haven't done that yet. Too lazy.
yeah, well, yeah, buy Cerberus 1 now, because maybe cats will show up in the next. Or maybe that's the big twist at the end of.
Yeah, it cuts to it. Have you seen the secret ending of Silent Hill, where like at
No.
the end, it's like the whole game has been like uh there's like a giant alien spaceship making everything happen, and in the spaceship is like a Shiba Inu dog like pulling levers. That's the end. I'm like, that's the end of my secret ending, dude. I'm gonna do that too. I will do that. That's hilarious. It's gonna be published as a pamphlet, like an add-on pamphlet, and you can only. That's my roommate, by the way. He wears a mask because he doesn't want to get
Oh.
docked. Yeah. Um, but shit, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I'm gonna do the pamphlet of the dog pulling levers in the spaceship, or maybe it'll be a cat.
Yeah, it wasn't one of the Men in Black movies. The end was like it keeps zooming out and it shows like the universe and then another, but then it's all in something I forget. But
In like a marble or something, and then that
yeah,
zooms out, and there's like another marble. I don't know. Yeah, I remember that. I remember thinking about that kind of recently. I'm like, oh shit, that was deep.
yeah. Um, but then as you said, the Silent Hill thing, I'm like, yeah, that is kind of a hack. That could be a hacky like. See every, I don't know, like the same thing when someone wakes up from a dream or like.
Totally. That's why it can only be a joke ending, like a secret joke ending, and it can't even be like in the real book. You can only
Oh
do it as
yeah.
like a little pamphlet add-on. Like, here's the pamphlet to ruin it if you really want to read the secret ending. Top secret.
Yeah, there was a while where like there was a lot of movies that would come out on DVD and they'd have like three different endings that you could watch, and like most of them were bad.
Yeah.
And usually the movie wasn't that good. Like in the real ending isn't that good either. So
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, usually if it's a good story, you can only have one ending, really.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, it's like in a way, I don't know if it made me or reminded me of this, but I wanted to watch that old Roger Rabbit movie. Uh,
Yeah. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
yeah,
I kind of want to rewatch that too. I remember it being pretty great, but I kind of forget it. It's been forever.
yeah, it actually still looks good too. Like, um, yeah, I wasn't sure. I was like, is this because no one takes risk anymore? Because I looked at this behind the scenes stuff, and they're like, yeah, we kept thinking it wasn't going to be made. Like up until the last second, they were like, all right. So like, I don't know if that even happens anymore with big budget things anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but you were like, well, you have like a lot of, you're like really prolific or whatever. um,
Yeah, you posted that in the chat the other day. You're like, Narwhal's working on a bunch of projects. Yeah, I think it might be like a little bit of an illusion because you do got irons in the fire, but they're just it's down the line. Like, yeah, like I got a notebook of ideas that I might make a comic one day, and it might be like 20 things, but it doesn't really mean I'm working on 20 projects. I think right now I'm working on, yeah, I am writing a couple with Jared, and then I'm drawing a couple really. So it's like 4 things I'm working on or something like that.
yeah. Did you ever see that Dick Tracy movie in the '90s? I think it was the '90s.
Yeah, the Warren Beatty, Dick Tracy. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
actually don't remember it either.
Yeah, me either. I saw clips of it, I think, but I remember it being semi-panned or something.
Hmm. Yeah, I heard Warren Beatty owns the rights to Dick Tracy somehow, and he's
Oh,
keeping them. He's like, that's some trick where he still owns the rights.
yeah. I guess I was wondering, like, sometimes you bring up like, uh, you used to drink a lot or something, and I keep wondering if that's the fact that you're not just drinking is like part of why you're so like like you work on a lot of stuff now or something.
Yeah, that's a little something. But the other thing is, I wonder if like I kind of just the way life works out or whatever is like in my 20s, I was drinking a lot, partying a lot, and I'm like, is that's kind of like wasted. Those were the days when I could have worked like 16-hour days if I wanted to. Now I can't work 16-hour days. Like my my diseased recovering alcoholic recovering brain can only work like 8 hours absolute max, and that even that like usually I'll just work like I don't know six actual hours I'll be working a day or something like that. And but you'd be surprised if you do that every day, you still get a bunch of stuff done, which is cool. But I'm like, what would it be like if I didn't? But then the thing is, drinking whatever it's not like it's super terrible, I guess. I don't know, and it does that experience in my 20s, it did give me a base of just like living life to kind of help with whatever writing and stuff kind of comes up later. So I don't really regret it necessarily. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I wasn't sure if it was like, um, that's all you were doing back then.
Yeah, I was still writing back then, but it wasn't as much as I write or work on stuff these days. Because these days I do it like every day. Basically I'm pretty much just what I do. But in my 20s, yeah, like the whole time I was writing and kind of slowly getting better. And it took like kind of like they say, but it took about 10 years. And then I felt like I was actually writing stuff that I thought was decent by that point. Because you can look back on stuff you've written. Usually, if it's like you wrote it like I don't know, you need like a little bit of distance, like 3 months at least. You check something out that you wrote 3 months ago, and a lot of times you're like, when you're younger, you're like, oh, it's crap. I thought it was so good, but it's total crap. And then that kind of keeps happening. But eventually that kind of stops. And I got to that point where I would read it and be like, oh, this isn't so bad. I kind of like this. Earthbound was kind of the first tipping point for that. I was like
Oh.
27 when I wrote that script. And I still liked it when I was 30. I was like, maybe this should be a comic. So I kind of start that process. And I'm 37 now. So it's been 7 years kind of in earnest, really going for the comic thing. And in the 20s, I still drew comics, but it wasn't that much. It was just enough to, yeah, kind of stay. Because even that's kind of a similar thing. Like the more you do, the better you get, the faster you get good. But I don't know. I think I might have drawn like three or 400 pages of comics and random other projects before I started Earthbound.
Oh yeah, because I think I heard you say you went to Evergreen
Yeah,
College, and that
yeah,
was like, when was that? That was before the Weinstein stuff.
yeah. It was before Bret Weinstein, all that. But even when I was there, there was a big riot on campus from just a concert that got out of hand. And I had lived in the dorms, so it was like down the road. I actually didn't go to that concert, but I remember hearing about it. Some people like flipped a cop car, but they just flipped like the campus cop car. I don't think anyone got arrested. I think maybe some people might have got expelled back then. Like they would still do that. They would still, because they don't even like do that anymore. They're so scared of getting called racist or whatever. I don't know. But it was like there were annoying hippies everywhere. And uh the one guy I kind of connected with was the one dude who wasn't a hippie. He was there on the GI Bill, so we kind of hung out a little bit.
Oh.
I I had one other buddy that who I was kind of friends with there. Well, there's a handful. One I'm still buddies with because he kind of got red pilled too, but he was like me. We are both hippies. We thought we were hippies, but then we were like, who the fuck are these hippies? I hate these hippies. Um, and I'm like, is there such thing as a right wing hippie? Because that's almost like what would be my style. But well, yeah, one guy. It was when Trump got elected. He got really mad at me and cut me off. I was like, okay, good riddance,
Oh.
whatever. Yeah,
A right wing hippie. That made me picture Owen Benjamin.
yeah. That's kind
Like
of
he
more.
lives on a farm too, and I think
Yeah,
and
that's more my speed a little bit.
Ted Kaczynski too.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, like what years did you go there? Do you remember? Like,
I graduated high school in 2005. So yeah, it was like 2006
oh,
to
okay,
2010 was like my college years, kind of.
me too. I mean, I went late, but I was out of college those years, and like, um, yeah, it wasn't like woke or whatever, but there would, I guess, gay issues came up. Like there was um, and I did. It wasn't at first. It was like when Obama was running, when like all of a sudden like you got bugged every time you walked around campus. Like, are you registered to vote? Because they wanted you to vote Obama,
Mm,
and it was just so annoying, like off-putting the way they were pushy about it. Like, because before that, I did vote for like John Kerry, but something about Obama, like the way they were blindly, like almost, you know, like he was Chairman Mao or something.
yeah,
uh,
you caught on early then, before me, for sure.
well, I didn't really. I don't know. Like me and my friend, like we both were like, "What is it?" Like we were really annoyed by it. Like that was the first time I was like, "What's going on here? Why are they blindly like the way South Park made fun of everyone like after he won? That's how the campus was. People were just walking around celebrating."
Yeah,
um, yeah, but there wasn't. I don't think it was woke. It was just like um, they I guess talked about some gay issues. Like there was this T-shirt that on campus that went around that just said "gay, fine by me," and I don't even know why, but that just was a trend or something.
you know what? When I hear "Fine by Me," I think of Friends. It's what Ross says to Rachel when they have a big breakup, and I oh because they kind of get sort of back together just for a second, but then they get in a big fight, and then she goes, "We are so over," and he goes, "Fine by me," and then he runs away. It's pretty funny.
Huh.
That might be what it is. I don't even know what they're referencing.
Yeah, I don't. Well, there might have been I don't know, maybe a glad thing in there, but I remember like the most woke thing I heard, I think, was this one like health class we had, and it was like they had like gay people just, I forget why, but gay people were just up there talking or something. And one of them was like, oh, they were talking about like, is it offensive if people say gay, like that's gay or whatever? And like most of them actually were like, not really, but, and then one guy was like, it is to me. And he annoyed me. I was like, and then I didn't know that the whole culture would be that guy eventually.
Oh yeah, yeah. Everyone's gonna just do that.
Yeah, I mean, some stuff is making almost a comeback. Like it's I know Shane Gillis says gay and stuff, and then I keep hearing like people say retard again.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say if there's like a draft for what words to bring back, straight up retard needs to come back, and then gay is like the close second because those are both pretty functional. It comes up all the time where you like want to say them, but
I
it's
know.
hard to. Mm-hmm.
So was that, I mean, did you grow up near Seattle? Like, was it super left where you grew up?
Yeah, and it was kind of like the the world the water you swim in, so you don't even notice. But the first time I really noticed it was Trump, I guess, because even
Yeah,
before then I was like starting to like I was starting to change, but I didn't notice. I didn't like voice it or say it. I was getting annoyed by feminists and stuff. And but then in 2016, it was me and my friend. It was good to have kind of a friend go through it too, because we were both like, I think Trump's funny, and we didn't know what everyone else was thinking. We were just laughing. We're like, dude, he's funny. And then we told my dad that one day. We're like hanging out with my dad, and we're like, we think Trump's funny. And my dad like started crying. He's like, I didn't raise you to be like this. And then my dad would be embarrassed now because he's kind of gotten borderline red pilled like 8 years later because of everything that kept happening. And I kept kind of like whatever sending him tweets and stuff. But he's got his own opinions and everything, which is cool. But back then he was totally or sensitized. He was not desensitized at all, and a lot of people weren't. That's 2016 was crazy, like friendships and everything. And but I think when my dad started crying, like me and my friends started laughing at my dad, and then that kind of like snapped him out of it a little bit. And so it was a good, just that path. Everyone needs to get slightly desensitized, I think.
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I really noticed it then too. I'm not from a city. Well, yeah, I'm not from my family's all conservatives, and then I moved to like Philly. It was the first city, and I just started noticing how uptight it felt there. Like, I think I might have brought this up last time, but yeah, like the whole like um, it was like that. There was some people like, I was doing like open mic comedy there. Like there was some even liberal guys that were like, I mean, come on, it's funny. Like it's fun. He's funny,
Mhm.
but like, and then there was like one feminist comedian. And that's when I started to really think, okay, I don't get like feminism started to bother me, but like I hadn't thought about it up till then, until I like really saw people that were feminists. Like I was like, I don't know if this makes any sense, but I was too uncomfortable. Like, oh, I don't know the history of feminism, so I'm not gonna talk about it. But then, like, they probably don't know that either. So,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Are they're like, oh god, the things people were saying, like whatever, like it's your privilege to be able to vote for whoever you want. Some people don't have that choice. They have to vote for the non-fascists because otherwise they'll be genocided or whatever, that kind of shit they were saying. I'm like, shut your mouth, whore.
Yeah. See, Narwhal's been, he was a nice guy, and then he joined CG, and he says stuff like that. So, just
Yeah.
like I'm speaking out against him, but um,
Yeah.
yeah, I started hearing white privilege randomly come up. Like maybe it was when I moved to Philly. Like every guy I thought was gay. Like every guy I met, and
Yeah.
like I don't like I'm not a manly, big guy. It's just like their demeanor or something. Actually, I think Ethan might have talked about this too. Like it seems like it's in every like facet of whatever, like comics, like whatever. I didn't think comedy really would be, because I don't know, but
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Everyone talks kind of gay, even if they're straight. It's confusing in the
yeah, I
cities,
think
at
it's
least.
like, I guess it's just like I'm trying to seem progressive, not offend people. But that was when, remember, like alternative comedy was like edgy still. Like Sarah Silverman would just say stuff that was bad,
Yeah.
and now it's like I don't know what it is now, but
It's weird too. I don't like, yeah, what she did in particular was like pretty cringy because I remember she had a show at one point for like a brief period, like a little talk show or whatever. And then she had Bill Burr on, and she like did a struggle session with Bill Burr. And this is like 2017 maybe or something. And he's like, "What's even going on here? What are you doing?" And she's like, "We all changed, but you didn't change, right?" Something like that. "You're not changing. Look at you. You're sticking to your guns. The rest of us are getting on board, but you just don't really want to get on board, do you?" And he's like, "What is this? What are you doing?" I'm like, "Man, this is so cringy of Sarah Silverman. She's like, was she ever cool?" Like, I guess a lot of that it kind of reveals like she was being weird even when she was like saying stuff that we might agree with. She was just going with the flow then.
yeah,
And then now she's going with the flow the other way. Whatever.
yeah, it just like I guess it was in back then to be edgy. Even Amy Schumer. When I first heard of Amy Schumer, it was like before she was really famous, and like I thought she was just basically Sarah Silverman. That's kind of what she was doing back then.
Yeah.
And now they both, although Sarah Silverman keeps kind of like, sort of being like, this is too much, but then going back and I'm sure she's upset by the fact that woke is now not like agreeing with Nazis or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also annoying. It's like, yeah, you should like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, just the fact, it's only when things are personal that they'll say
Yeah.
anything.
Oh, speaking of like it's like the political spectrum got split into quadrants instead of left and right, where there's left wing pro Hamas, left wing against Hamas, which is like the left wing Jewish establishment or whatever. And then there's right wing pro Hamas, and then right wing pro
Oh, yeah.
whatever. What's it called? At Zionist, or the right wing Zionist,
Yeah.
which is, yeah. And that's just kind of interesting. But that happening too, it did make me think like, it makes me think a lot more like Trump maybe will win in 2024. And ultimately that probably is good, but it also it is a step towards, what do they call it in the last book of the Bible, where it's like the apocalypse is happening. It's
Yeah.
all that stuff is getting checked off, and it's the Antichrist has to like come to power. And because there's one account I follow on Twitter, and he's like, yeah, Trump's the Antichrist, and he's gonna because the main thing about the Antichrist is it has to kind of trick you. He's actually cool, but then it just doesn't end up the way you'd hope. Like, it doesn't end in salvation. And that's like, I'm like, that fits a lot with what's happening now. It's like, because of the quadrantized split, it means Trump will win a lot more easier. The media might even go easy on him. They might actually want Trump to win over like some Democrat pro Hamas person. All of a sudden they'll be like, Trump's not so bad actually. So then Trump destroys, wins, and then continues like the book of Revelations. That's what it is. Continues like the kind of like Zionist prophecy that brings about the end of days.
Yeah, I don't think it would be Trump to me because I think they hate him because he doesn't follow any kind of order. He's like, maybe at one point he did, like maybe DeSantis would more, and some people said Newsom if he got elected, but to me he's not like a. To me, he isn't like unlikable. I don't know if he's fooling everyone. Like Obama, everybody liked, even on the right. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Obama just annoyed me like later because he would say shit because he kind of always sold himself as like a reasonable person, but then you kind of learn their playbook or whatever, and they do the reasonable thing while they're behind their back doing unreasonable things. And Obama was kind of like that. He's like the figurehead of that. But I'm trying to remember like Obama he spoke out a lot for the vaccines, which was super annoying. And he speaks out a lot for like children, freaking trans surgery kind of stuff.
Oh.
And you're like, Obama, he's just a mouthpiece for more of the weird right wing, left wing agenda type stuff.
Yeah. I guess I didn't like care for a little while after he was elected, but that's when like Snowden came out. They got really secretive and like Big Brother like when he was in.
Yeah.
And I thought I thought the Patriot Act was like that, but then at least we knew about that.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like and then Obama was like kind of stoking racial stuff with the Trayvon Martin.
Yeah. Yeah. The only times that have been good, it was Trump's time, but even that, it wasn't like that great because people hated Trump so much that it was making shit just unbearable.
I know. That's why I was like, I was kind of relieved almost when he got. Well, I didn't want Biden though, but
yeah, like I would agree with you, except then the freaking inflation is so that's also
yeah,
very like annoying. It's definitely I can feel the effects of it.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if he. I do. I don't know if he won again. I'd just be like, oh my god, there's no hope.
Yeah.
I don't even care who wins, but like, the left keeps going like, hey, this other thing, care about that. Like they're trying to distract people with like, hey, we support the Palestine this week, and then next week Israel.
Yeah.
Don't think about inflation. Just trans kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I sort of disagree with this comment saying Sam Hyde. I think Sam Hyde stayed the same. Tim Heidecker, I don't like anymore. Tim Heidecker is too. He's like political comedy now. He's not even. They
Yeah.
had no politics in before.
He might be saying Tim Heidecker pulled the ladder on Sam Hyde. That's
oh yeah. Yeah, and I never even really. There was one skit I saw where he was a quadroon or something, and that's the only racial thing he did that I saw back then. But I didn't even know what that term meant back then either.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, speaking of just a little more, not to get back to politics, but freaking Trump, he did get some big things wrong. So I don't even know who would even be a good situation. It's almost like you can't even have it. It's like nobody. But Trump got the pandemic, all that stuff wrong, and he was also wrong with Snowden, and those guys, Assange. I was really hoping Trump would pardon Assange, and the January 6thers. Trump, I think he might have. Then maybe that was. I think he had a chance. He should have pardoned them, but.
Yeah, Um, I mean, some of those things, like, I don't think they'd let someone get elected if they ran on freeing Assange. I don't know. It feels like him and Snowden are like, it's just never gonna happen. They're never gonna be freed. Like, they're just being made examples of, like, unpersoned, you know.
Yeah.
So like, I would be like, all right, if you do that, just don't even run on it, and then do it when you are in office.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, but yeah. So I guess I was thinking of like, so you have like a certain style to your like drawing that's like more unique, you know.
Hmm.
And sometimes I'm like I'm not sure what how to judge art because sometimes EVS would show stuff and he'd be like, "This is bad," and I'm like, I don't even know what's wrong about it.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
um, yeah, I probably can't show this again, but let me just.
Nice.
I got this comic at a concert recently. It's like a band called
Dying
Dying.
fetus.
Yeah,
Nice.
they like had a. They said it was a limited. 10 years ago, they made it, and it was like a limited run or something. And I was wondering how people like if it's good. I mean, it looked, you know,
Yeah.
um, I actually read it, and it's like this psycho guy that like, uh, oh, wrong one. He like goes and joins, I don't know, protesters. It's almost an anti-socialist thing.
Mm.
It's like a psycho criminal who joins like young people, like, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna, but then he's like basically just like a psycho in the background.
That's cool.
Yeah, hold on, there's one. You see here, he's throwing babies at Christian people at a church because he's like, I hate Christian people, and that, you know, these are fetuses, I think. But then at the end, I don't really know what this is. Like, is that a baby? This thing comes out, and he's like, what is that? You know.
That's funny.
Oops. Yeah. Yeah, but you did you always like draw stuff that way?
Not per- not exactly. That's kind of more minimalist style. Came up when I switched to digital art, but so I drew traditional all through my 20s, but I was never that good. And then I got one kind of big comic job that was like a trial by fire type of thing. That was kind of my only professional job in the industry. It was for a book called Machete Squad, and
Uh,
that book was 120 pages, and they're like, how I got the job was this journalist I had met at a comic convention. He kind of hit me up because he kind of liked my art, and he's like, Well, we had an artist lined up for our book. We had a book deal, but our artist dropped out, so we need a new artist, or else we're going to lose our book deal. But you have to be able to draw and color 120 pages in a year. Can you do that? And I was like, yes, which I didn't even know if I could or not. But so I immediately kind of switched to digital. I was like, all right, if I'm even going to be able to do this, it's going to have to be digital. So and then from that, kind of the necessity of it kind of working digital, and that kind of happened over a period of like a month or something of like kind of jumping in, and I had to redraw a few of the early pages trying to figure out what kind of style works. I do remember thinking I did kind of even conceptualize it. I was like, oh, if the ink lines are meant to hold the color and the color is the rendering, then you don't have to render with the ink lines, because that's like what a lot of comics do is they do cross hatching, they do lots of cool detail. And I'm like, it's more from the school of animation, which this art is like that too. But this is my friend Jared, but we kind of are on the same spectrum of art. And he's a great cartoonist.
Wait,
But
did he draw? He drew this stuff?
yeah. So and it's kind of like my style, but he drew that.
Okay.
And that's where, yeah, like the lines are meant to hold the color, and the color is kind of doing more of the work for like creating the shape and the character or whatever.
Yeah, I like the backgrounds in Earthbound too, like how it's kind of separated from the
Oh, that's cool.
background.
You like it. Yeah. I'm not sure if some people like kind of don't like it, but I do like it. And I like the low poly 3D backgrounds with the characters popping out. I definitely have been, that's kind of like the second evolution of my style I've been developing over the years, because Earthbound Earthbound 1, actually a few pages did that.
Oh,
And then Earthbound Grand-Prix, all the pages are doing it. But yeah.
is it like? Is it a little easier to do it that way, or?
It's almost like the same. And I actually do like kind of doing both. I'm doing another project where I'm just drawing them instead of doing it in 3D. But 3D, it's pretty fun because the whole process changes, where it's a little bit more like being a filmmaker. You're making the environment, and you're going in with like a digital camera kind of within the 3D scene. You're taking photographs of the environment, and then you're drawing characters over the top. So like that whole process is so different. It's pretty fun.
Yes, and you were like learning animation too, like I mean that's like I've done like some little comedy animations, like, and it is pretty hard to learn. I mean, it's time consuming, mostly to do the lip syncing, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, well, you were learning the 3D stuff, which I thought would be harder. I don't know though.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've been trying to learn a little bit of both. Blender can kind of do both, and I keep going back and forth on which one I like more or want to try and learn more. But I do like 3D.
Yeah, yeah. This is a Hotel Story. It's his newest one, and this is gonna be wait, is this? Oh, part one of two again.
Yeah. Yeah, this is another one where it's kind of split right down the middle.
Do you like come up with how many pages, but like, and then stick to that, or?
Usually it always starts just kind of as a movie script, and I always want the movie script to be at least 90 pages, because that's kind of like an actual movie. And I know
Oh,
that will be roughly double that will kind of be a comic idea. So if it's 90-page movie script, that'd be like 180-page comic book. And that's definitely not exactly accurate, but that just gives you an idea to get started. Um, and so that's kind of where I work from.
yeah. Like, it's weird. Like it's weird that I like. I mean, I probably wouldn't have thought I'd be reading comics again. Uh, but Comicsgate.
Yeah, that's cool that you're finding people are finding us and picking it up again. That is part of the fun for sure.
Yeah, and also like you guys have it's like more quality printing, because I remember most comics that I used to get were like almost more newspaper,
Yeah,
and then I had one that was like a graphic novel, like the way Cerberus is, like some Deadpool one, and it was like, whoa, this is like, because I remember National Geographic used to have that same magazine style, and like that's what I liked about it the most. Like, it like makes
yeah.
you want to read it more or something.
hmm Meatball Hero has a question. He says, "How much do you like to fit on a single page in terms of action and storytelling?" Well, I can kind of answer that. One thing is you can pack a lot of stuff on it, but so in general, I usually try and hit like 5 to 7 panels is like just kind of my sweet spot. But I like 9 panel pages. I like higher panel pages sometimes, and lower panels fine too. But that's why it's like it could be anything. But I was gonna say Frank Miller, he kind of started doing 16 panel pages, and that's like so many, and it still works and is totally fun. So it's kind of interesting that there's no right answer. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, like I wonder if anyone's ever made like a troll comic where like I have 7 pages in a row of just a bullet flying through the air,
Yeah.
and then
No, actually, I saw one sort of like that. It's Cerberus, which is different than Cerberus. It's a famous indie comic from like the 70s and 80s, but it's about this aardvark Conan the Barbarian type character. But there's a part where he has a dream, and then the last like 5 pages of the comic are him waking up from the dream and going to piss in the dark. So it's 9 panel pages that are totally black, but you just hear psst, an S is written across every panel for 5 pages straight.
wow. I wonder if that was like I was contracted to do this many pages, so I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it almost was like a literal troll, but back then it'd be a different term that they would use. But it was like a troll, and also that comic, it did allow itself to be like artsy fartsy, so it's almost artsy fartsy to do like
Oh
five
yeah,
pages of someone pissing.
there's like a fine line with that with me. Like I like. I don't know. It's weird. Like I like some artsy, like David Lynch and others indie movies. I mean, I guess I like indie movies more now than mainstream ones. But then some of those indie, like I don't know, foreign movies, like to me, I can tell when it's like, oh, it's trying to be artsy.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, they have like you can just tell, and then it's kind of cringy or whatever. And yeah, that's so like because even my comics, I kind of straddle that. I straddle a little bit of artsiness. I think people like that about my work. Someone said they said like Narwhal is artsy without being pretentious. I was like, oh yeah, that's a good compliment.
Yeah. Before I read your stuff, I think when I first maybe saw you on some stream, um, you were talking about a standing desk or something, and I was like, oh no, I hope he's not like kind of a hipstery.
Yeah,
Because to me back then, I was like, oh, standing desk, but now everybody has those. I mean, and it's
yeah. I know. I haven't even activated mine in a while. I can push it the button and it goes up, but I have it sitting right now.
yeah, and like some people would be like, depending on the crowd you're around, like, oh, you don't drink? Oh, you're one of those, huh?
Yeah.
But I mean, in at Evergreen, did you design your own major or something?
Yeah, it was just like a 4 year degree and it didn't get me a job or anything. So it was kind of like if I could go back, I wouldn't do it. But it was weird timing because I think right around, like in 2008 or 2009, YouTube wasn't exactly a thing yet. But it totally was by like 2012, 2013. So like if I would have been 4 years later, then you could have legitimately been like, don't go to college, just watch YouTube. Like, and I would tell myself that. But this, for that case, I ended up, and I did a art history, sculpture, and comics. It was like a lot of my
Oh,
shit.
but not film classes?
No, I tried to get into the filmmaking class, and it's a feminist bitch who wouldn't let me in. So that was like part of the reason.
Wow. Yeah, my friend Meatball here, who's in the chat, he had a feminist, some kind of, he was forced into taking some kind of feminist lit class. I mean, he's an English teacher now, but he had to, and he, oh, it was like, they kept talking about how, oh, women don't make as much as men, and I think he just said something like, yeah, but there's more girls here on campus, and there's like a lot of women here on campus and not as many men really. And she was like, no. She just said no, even though it was obviously true. And there were a lot of, but they were all going for nursing and stuff, which is still female type of.
Yeah.
Oh, and I told, like, it was weird because, like, a lot of the women back, maybe it's different now, but back then, um, a lot of the women that were even there, like going to college, they were like, well, my ultimate goal is to like get married and have kids.
Yeah.
And they were, but I was like, then why are you wasting money on? But now I don't know if that would be what they said. Like now they might be like, well, I'm gonna be a career woman.
Yeah, times are still changing a little bit. It's hard to even keep up or figure it out, like what exactly is happening. Because at any point, too, like even the youngest generation, whatever it is, Generation Z or whatever, like they're the most cringy and fucked up, and they got some of the most weird communists, but they also got some of the most based people too. So, no.
Uh, yeah, and Meatball asks, what is worse, Palestine or East Palestine? And I'm gonna just say Palestine because they're brown,
Yeah.
so that's
Well,
worse.
I was like, if that's one, that is almost like a good political statement or whatever. It's like, people, they're like, we got problems here in America we should solve first before worrying about any foreign bullshit. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, do you have I don't know, a favorite? What's your favorite thing besides comics? Is it like movies?
Yeah, I love movies. Dabble in video games. Usually I just watch them while I'm drawing, but I love video games. And lately I've been really into spiders. I watch a lot of videos about spiders, and I
Yeah,
might
what
try
if
and
you?
do a spider comic at some point, but I don't know what it would be.
Yeah, it was just like, what if there was a Cerberus, but from spider, like insects?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
But then no one. Well, I guess some people. Yeah, that's always the like alternative type of people that were like, I have a pet snake.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some of the YouTube videos I watch are people with pet spiders and stuff. But because I was scared of them for until very kind of recently, like last summer. I've always had arachnophobia, but I realized the more you know, the less scared you get. So I have been like deep diving in some spiders stuff.
Yeah, so you said you want to make a video game, and you said like like a point and click type of thing.
Yeah, it might not even be that much. It's like I found a few of the type of games because I was glad to see they do exist, but I think sometimes they just call them like visual novel. Like most of the gameplay is like selecting what to say of from a couple different choices, and like that's it. So you're like you're pressing up and down, you're pressing A, and you're reading, and then there's art, and it tells a story, and that's there. You can make kind of a fun little product that way, and people do enjoy it. So I was like, that is something I want to like tiptoe towards, kind of pursuing here and there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could definitely do, because I follow this YouTube guy, like Alpha Beta Gamers is the channel, and it's just brand new demos and games, and a lot of them are free that you can just play.
Yeah, I follow that YouTube channel too.
Uh,
It's cool.
yeah, Heavy Rain I really liked. That was like they also made a game with Ellen Page in.
Yeah, it was called something Souls or something. I
Yeah.
forget. I was gonna say Between Two Souls, like Between Two Ferns, with Ellen Page.
Well, yeah, maybe I could, between a male soul and a female one.
That is what it is.
And that's the
yeah.
ending, is she just becomes a man at the end, which was like a weird, almost a predictive programming.
Yeah.
No, I never finished that. I actually have it, but yeah. I don't know if I don't know if I stopped playing it because like I'm like, oh, it's Ellen Page, and that I just keep thinking about. I don't know.
Yeah, you're dead naming her just by playing that game, so you got to stop.
Yeah.
Oh, Maddox says Beyond Two Souls, not Between Two Souls. With Zach Galifianakis and Ellen Page.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like but yeah, this Dying Fetus comic like kind of reminded me of this one Zach one that I read called like oh, this guy who keeps saying no all the time.
Yeah, the Ballad of No.
Yeah. It was kind of like so you're unwittingly in a protest and they think you're on their side and stuff.
Yeah, that's funny.
So your dad, is your family like leftist or?
Yeah, but they're not so bad, really. I don't know what. Nowadays, they're like,
Are they like Bill Maher now?
Yeah, maybe a little more like that. And even Bill Maher like annoys me, but they're like,
Yeah.
they get some of the big stuff. The only thing that I kind of disagree with my dad on, because we agree about all the pandemic stuff, pretty much Ukraine and everything, but don't agree on Trump. He hates Trump, and I like Trump.
Oh. Yeah,
agree to disagree.
Yeah, I mean, my parents are like, they're like, my mom's like, I'm done with politics now. I think because of the last election.
Oh yeah.
So she's almost become like open, like she's more into conspiracies now and stuff, but not like QAnon, but like But my dad, they both like Trump, but like even my dad would be like, I don't agree with everything he says, but
yeah.
I mean, I can't believe somebody crying like that is like people have said. Like I just can't imagine crying over an election, any election.
Oh yeah, so many people cried in 2016. They're just like babies, kind of. But then you can't. You got to be nice because I don't know. It's like a very sensitive moment. We just weren't ready for it. We didn't realize how sensitive people were. Like it was one of my friend's older brother's wife. She cried a bunch on 2016, and I wanted to laugh at her, but I couldn't. She would have hated me for life if I laughed at her, so I had to like bite my tongue or whatever. But it's almost, that's what they need too. They need you to just laugh at them a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised he won, but like some of the stuff from like one of my favorite things from after he won was Aaron Sorkin's letter to like his daughter. I don't know if you heard about that.
No, it already sounds hilarious.
Like wrote like to to read in the future or something, like, hey, like, I don't know, just like apologizing for Donald Trump being a president or something.
Yeah, that's so cringy. Aaron Sorkin thinks he's so smart.
Yeah, that's maybe a line of being like, he might cross the line of being snobby. Like, with the way he writes, like, I don't really like the way he writes how people talk, because it to me is just if he was every character, you know.
Yeah.
But also maybe you could say that about Tarantino a little too, though.
Yeah, yeah. And Tarantino's awesome. But yeah, and Tarantino, he is a little snobby about his dialogue, but it's kind of like you allow it because it's sweet. But
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So you never had a? Did you ever hit bottom with drinking?
sort of, but I don't know. I didn't like burn any crazy bridges necessarily, but I definitely was just uh, yeah, drinking too much and being hungover the next day. And
Yeah, because I remember hearing you say that, I think, and then I remember that, like, you went to the Tampa thing, and I was like, what if he goes on off, or whatever the expression is, off the wagon?
yeah, no, I did too. I drank a little bit in Tampa, but I just went right back to not drinking, so it kind of worked okay.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, because that's a little bit like I don't even know if I want to treat it like you're an alcoholic and you're terrified of alcohol and your life's ruined
Yeah.
if you ever have a sip. Seems better like to. And I was even thinking, I was like, maybe I would start drinking again when I'm like 50 or like 60, but I don't really want to do it because it does feel like I want to try and be productive is like a big part of it. But I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like every single comedian eventually has to go sober.
Yeah.
Like, there's never one that's like, Bill Burr even. Uh,
Well, part of it, actually, the main reason I quit is because I was getting fat. So it wasn't even
oh,
like anything other than that. That was like effing with me, that kind of health side of it. Um, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's probably,
Oh, in Tampa, you know why I drank too? Is because of Cecil. Because Cecil, he's his peer pressure was like undeniable. But he was funny. He just came up to me with a little thing of whiskey. He goes, "Here, have a sip of this. Tell me what you think of it." I was like, I'd already said no to like a handful of people who had offered me drinks. But when Cecil did it, I was like, okay. I finally broke down. Then
see
I
if
was like,
this
well, shit.
works.
Yeah, I was like, I've already drank it. I guess I could drink a little more. But it was fun to drink in Tampa. It loosens the whole social aspect of it. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, it's better to drink around for social stuff, but then, like, I have been kind of taking breaks on and off, like, because the thing I don't like about it the most, I guess, is like, if you drink for a little while, it's like, if then you feel like, oh, I need drinks the next day.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
The
like,
thing, one thing I've noticed is it is like almost for me at this point, it's like undeniable that it does help if you want like social lubrication, kind of to have a good time while going out and talking to strangers or whatever. But so yeah, I don't know. It's like that is always there. Like that is a reason why it's effective and you could drink. But then there's a lot more negatives so then you don't. But it's just knowing that it's like I am missing out a little bit. Like I could be having maybe a little more fun if I did go out and drink. Maybe and it's like shit, maybe there was like, a happy balance, but I'm not too interested in trying to find that just yet. I'm like, I'll just stick on the extremes. I'm gonna
yeah,
not for now.
And you never got into weed?
No, I don't know if I call it being lucky, but it just never did anything for me other than give me really bad munchies or make me feel like crap or whatever. So
Oh.
I tried it, like, and I still will smoke once in a while because of peer pressure, but I only do it to appease, like, people or whatever. So
Yeah, that's why I do heroin too.
yeah,
I'm just like, fine.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
fentanyl, I'm like, all right, fine, I guess. That's
yeah,
what's scary about. Well, I never did any. I always used to think, oh, cocaine's crazy. Nobody does that. And then I started doing just open mics, and I realized, oh, everybody does cocaine.
yeah. But yeah, you're right. Cocaine's weird now too because of fentanyl.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, but and you're a dungeoneer too, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, you like. I noticed you and Rini are really good at like, not doing drama like streams or whatever.
yeah. I think definitely trying to, um, and done okay. Yeah, dodging the drama for now. The
Yeah,
point
that's
is,
why I keep.
there's a tipping point. At the point I'm at now, which is kind of nice, is like I have my own ecosystem of fans. There, it's not huge, but like, so even if whatever, if yeah, anyone could try and like kick me out of Comicsgate, I would still do okay. I think so.
Yeah, like I mean, it's yeah. I've been noticing like even like anti woke people will start to kind of start mobbing each other.
Yeah,
Um, even in Comicsgate, it seems like that's going on with, and then a lot of it, it seems like it's projection or just reading. Like maybe this person hates me. Maybe.
yeah, yeah. I noticed that too, kind of early in Comicsgate, where I'm like, at first you're like, oh, finally, I found a group of people that I agree with, and then cut to like 3 months later, and you're like, a lot of these people I don't like either.
Yeah. Um, well, you can name names.
Yeah, yeah. No, I didn't even mean it necessarily like that. It's just like, you know how it is. It's just a numbers game almost. It's like people don't really get along. You don't have that much in common if you have political stuff in common still.
Yeah, I think it's just in every community, I guess, because there's like a lot of YouTubers I see that it seems like their whole focus is like some of them are, their whole focus is that boogie guy. Remember that big guy, that gamer guy
Yeah.
that like I watched one of somebody's videos and it just keeps suggesting, and it's like I guess this is all he does is look at Boogie's videos and say like what a piece of shit, and I'm like I wouldn't want to do that, but
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the success of YouTube is like a curse, I think. I feel almost sorry for people who get successful at YouTube and it's like, oh, congrats, you have to comment on social movies uh, for the rest of your life or whatever.
yeah. Well, I think on some of your streams you're like, oh, I might try being mean or like trolling people to sell the comics or whatever. And
Yeah.
I do think that might work because, I mean, when YouTube was kind of new, I did sort of a character that was purposely bad at guitar and like, but
Yeah.
all I did was like go to other people playing covers and I just comment, "You suck. Check out me because I actually play it well." Like I just was an asshole and everyone.
Yeah.
But they actually like they would then watch my video and comment because they were probably upset or something.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. See, I am okay with a little bit of that maybe. Some of the kayfabe can be fun, but
Yeah,
um,
but I also was like, well, it's a character, so it's not like it's me. But if it's like you, Narwhal, it might be,
yeah.
uh, just going and like roasting other people's comics. Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't want to keep you too long, but so you have Hotel Story, and like, do you have other something after that?
The next book is going to be Grand Prix Part 2. Um, and then, yeah, like getting Hotel Story fulfilled, maybe Hotel Story 2, Cerberus 2, a couple of sequels next year. It's all sequels. Maybe a Narzac book too, which would be sweet, but I don't know too much of the details yet, even. But
Oh yeah, are those on your store at all?
no, unfortunately,
Oh,
I don't have copies to resell really. Those you can usually pick up on any of Zach's campaigns though as add-ons. He usually
oh
has them.
okay. Oh, there's a Cerberus movie script.
Yeah, that's the full story too. So if anyone ever wanted that.
Oh, yeah. So you do like a lot of brainstorming on streams, and sometimes I'm like, oh, is this a spoiler? So like, I'll click out of it.
Yeah, yeah. I know the thing sometimes with spoilers, I'm like, it's just the way comics go. It'll be 2 years before this is ever real, and no one's gonna remember.
Yeah.
So I don't care too much, but it
Are
technically
you?
is a spoiler a lot of times.
Yeah. I guess. Do you ever do like, well, if you're brainstorming, are you worried somebody's gonna come in and like swipe that idea, and you'll see a campaign come up the next day or something?
No, you know what I sometimes worry about is I don't know if someone was ever like they suggest something in the chat and I was going to do that anyway, and then I do it, and then they say like I owe them money because they contributed to the
Oh
idea or
yeah.
something, which I don't really think that would ever happen, or the probability's so low that I'm okay with just not even worrying about it until it, God forbid, something like that happens. Um, I know that like on the higher levels, like Mark Miller, he would never brainstorm live specifically for that reason, and he has been sued
Oh.
because once you get successful, you get the target on your back or whatever. But
Oh yeah.
on my level, I don't care yet. I haven't been what's it called? I haven't been like ruined or like made cynical by like one bad apple kind of thing, because that's almost like what happened to Mark Miller. He had, maybe it's two. He got sued twice, and it kind of ruins it for everyone else. But it's rightfully so in his case. You're like, yeah, you definitely don't want to get sued. So.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I've worried about. Well, I guess Rainey had that rip-off comic come out, but I think they just took art from her campaign. It wasn't even something she shared online.
Yeah, that was like a little different. That was almost like I don't know if it was like Chinese embezzlers or something doing some weird shit they do on Kickstarter. You just
Yeah,
got
it
to
was
catch
like
them.
a Chinese knockoff of Fiendish. It was just,
Yeah,
it's like when I remember when the mini Nintendo came out. There would be like knockoffs at flea markets that were like video game system, but it looked like a Nintendo.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but thanks for coming on again, by the way.
yeah. No problem.
Um, yeah, everybody check out his eBay store. I think it's in my link or description. And if anybody happens to see this on Rumble, sorry, it looks like it was just on me the whole time. Because it's like different with I don't pay for stream art, so.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, everybody check out Narwhal's stuff. channel and all the Comicsgate stuff. And oh yeah, have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.
Oh yeah, it's coming up Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I forgot to give my land acknowledgement. I was gonna do for just remember we're on stolen land and stuff.
Oh yeah. That's funny. Yeah, thanks for having me. Good interview. We can do another one soonish on my channel or yours, whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah, and my friend better buy your stuff. I'm gonna check. And
Do it.
um, okay. Yeah, thanks everybody. I'm gonna end the stream. And yeah, thanks everybody and support Narwhal.
Yeah.